So I wanted to talk about optional rules. Now, I remember you guys were saying right at the start, like, hey, what optional rules are you playing with? And I never got around to telling you all this. Um, but my apologies for that, guys. And I want to, at this point, really extend my thanks to you guys for really sharing your knowledge with us and helping us keep on track with things. I will say that after playing, I don't know, 2 dozen games of this, maybe less than that. Anyways, after playing this, playing a YouTube Wars series on this takes more time than playing it at a table. Really, like, yeah, it's crazy. It takes more time. It's spread across months. You kind of lose stuff and you're always playing at odd hours. I'm always playing, when my wife and son are asleep, so I'm always figuring stuff out here. My brain is foggy. I'm not sharp, as I could be. Playing in a board game with table, there's the camaraderie. There's people can talk and they can say, I'm gonna do this, and were you aware that you can't do that, or this. It takes more time to do this by yourself over the internet, because then you gotta also render it, you gotta post it, and you gotta not that I don't mind putting comments out for you guys, but there's all that. It occupies a lot of time, right? Keeps things fairly busy. So I appreciate you guys for really giving me your feedback and thoughts and comments on things. And yeah, it's really great. I appreciate the community behind it for sure is huge. I, for one, love playing with optional rules because, Axis and Allies, we've all played, and we've all cut our teeth on Axis and Allies, I'm pretty sure. And I like that game quite a bit. I wouldn't say I love it because I've played it enough that I've seen flaws with it, but I actually do quite like Axis and Allies. It's a fun game and playable within a day, right? Not this game. This game you need 1 or 2 days. I used to actually, in my heyday, we used to hammer out one of these games like in a 14-hour day. I was young, bachelor, didn't have a girlfriend, nothing like that. I can meet a couple other somewhat semi-depressed other bachelors, and we had to hammer out one of these games in a day. We just hyper-focus, put ourselves in a room. We'd go to our local board game cafe, and they would cater to us and stuff like that, and we just hammer it out in a day. We were pretty good at it, right? So I've gained a lot of experience in a shorter bit of time. But even then, all that experience, that's years ago now. I've only played three times actually 2 times in 2 years, if that. Maybe it's been 3 now. So, it's those days are long gone. So I remember very little, and this is version 3. I've never played version 3 before. So yeah, I appreciate you guys all keeping us honest. Long-winded saying. So for me, optional rules change the nature of the game quite a bit. So in Axis and Allies, you could simply just invade a coast, right? No repercussions. Now in this game, you can't do that. There's double casualties, and that's just fantastic, right? It makes a lot more intense. Considering an amphibious landing is a big deal in this game. And likewise, first on the list is mountains. Mountains are intense, man. Without mountains in Spain, you just rip through that area without too much thought. The Axis usually win fairly quickly. But with mountains in the picture, it's oof. Oftentimes it's whoever makes the first move loses sometimes, right? That's the way it feels like for me. The Spanish Civil War is oftentimes a coin toss with very weak chance, well, not very weak chance, with a slight advantage to the Axis. Slight, but not much. And it really depends on what they all try to do. And it's just a hard fight, I would say. Hard fight, and that's really what it should be, in my opinion, a hard fight. And I like it. It's long. It's really thought out. It really changes the nature of the game. And also in other parts of the globe where you just think, I'm going to invade Turkey. Why not? Not with mountains, you're not. You're going to think twice about that. And then you have mountain cities, and you have the interior of China and all this other stuff. You have to think twice about this stuff. So for me, I love terrain rules. I don't see them as optional either. They're one of those ones that is if I play with somebody who doesn't want to play with mountains, I don't know if I actually want to play that game, just because let's play Axis and Allies instead. It's quicker, and you don't have, that's just my opinion though. Other people's opinions are equally valid in this case. Deserts are awesome, jungles are awesome, marshes are awesome. I'm not going to go over all of it. They're great. They're awesome, guys. For me, love them to death. I wouldn't play without them. The deserts and marshes are still growing on me. Jungles, I like the jungles, and deserts are actually pretty great too. They're great all around. I wish there's more flavor behind the deserts, because right now it's just simply they're a lot like mountains, deserts, right? So I wish it was a little bit more complex, but I can't honestly think, you know, I can't think of too many alternatives. So the first big one is we're playing with this combat move through in Canal. Actually, this is one that I believe I may have instigated when I worked with HBG. So I told them of a story of one time where I had my Italian fleet either in C-Zone 82 or here, and I just upgraded my base, or I think in the previous versions it might have already been. Yeah, it must have been a base you could already move from, you know, with your +1 movement bonus. And I said, from this position, I could build 3 transports here, and for every transport of troops I have as the Italians, I can threaten India, South Africa, Gibraltar, and everything in between, which is a lot of territory if you look at it. It's a massive amount of territories. From this position, I can go 1, 2, 3, and threaten even Malaya, right? You know, as the Italians. With 3 transports, yeah, totally. That was my go-to strategy as the Italians. Perfect place for it. And so the idea was, of course, in version 2, you didn't have minor bases. You just had one type of base that all gave movement bonus. And I can't remember if both of these had a major port. I believe they did. Maybe not. But anyways, it was deadly. You could strike every which way you wanted to. So no combat moving through canals. Makes sense, right? The British say, there go the Italian fleet again, just hard charging off to war. Like, you know, no, they can't do that. It seems silly to me because you can declare a combat move before you declare you're going to war. So you can be like, I'm going combat move into the Med. And the British are like, so who are you going to war against? And it's like, not telling you. And you just slip through here, move your way this way, and smash Gibraltar. Or just simply hit Egypt from the other angle if you wanted to. That kind of thing. So that's the first one on the list. Just, as far as I'm concerned, it's got to be played. It makes sense to me. Himalayan air hump. Great. I've never actually done this one. I've never flown anything across, but good enough. Variable game end, we've already talked about. I like it. It's thematic. You're not going to just chuck everything away just for last-ditch gamble of trying to win the thing because the turn it's supposed to end comes up. We don't want to railroad ourselves too much. So nation-specific victory. This one, again, I see this as should be standard. It's not optional at this point. I mean, it could be if you guys want to. If you guys actually play with victory cities, let me know because I'd be curious to see how many people actually play that way. But in this game, it'd be to my advantage, I think. I still hold all my victory cities. Maybe I actually need more than that, but I hold that and then some because I hold Baghdad. I lost Singapore, of course, but I'm not doing too bad for victory cities. Okay, damaging facilities under construction. This one I don't have any feelings about. I'm okay with playing it. Carrier aircraft retreat. Now this one, I want to actually preface it by saying I want to extend an apology to General Hand Grenade. I value him as a very respected member of the community, right? Like he's got a wealth of knowledge, this guy, and he's pretty much dedicated a huge amount of hours into this game, and he knows what he's talking about, right? I have a Slavic background, like a West Slavic background, and you know when I go meet my family, we're pounding the table with our fists, we're debating with raised voices and that kind of thing. We get really animated and passionate about stuff, and so some of that carries into the game for me. So I apologize if I stepped on his toes on this regards, right? At the end of the day, I'm going to play it the way he says it should be played in this case, right? For me, I find it confusing enough that it should be the way I suggested. So let me break it down to you guys in case you're not aware of the situation behind it. So there is a rule, and I'll take you across the board where it occurred. So there's a rule right here. Sorry, not a rule. Okay, so last turn there was this carrier there, right? So my thinking was something like this, that with that optional rule, it simply says aircraft, what does it say? Carrier aircraft retreat. Aircraft on carriers must retreat if carrier sinks. One space. Now in the rules it doesn't say anything about aircraft on carriers must retreat. It really doesn't. So my thinking was this, it must apply to all carriers. And that would be kind of thematic sense for me. If I sink this carrier, then all these aircraft that were based out of this carrier say, shoot, well, we don't have our munitions station anymore, so we kind of have to rebase ourselves and find a place where we could carry the war from. So they kind of scoot off to here. So they immediately retreat from combat to something else. So that made sense to me. That all carriers, once the aircraft is sunk, so the aircraft have to go. Now, that's my thinking, because the alternative 2 is something like this, that say if you have this carrier here. Actually, I'll just carry it across to this part of the board. Okay, so say if I have a carrier coming in for the Americans, and they got a fighter to this fight. So in Axis and Allies, you often wouldn't bring your carrier into the fight. I don't know if you even could bring your carrier into the fight. So it didn't really, you're never going to have your carrier sink, because this is going to be busy fighting it out over there. And so this has a movement left of 3. So my thinking was like, yeah, it's completely disassociated with that carrier. It's just going to fight and not going to worry about anything. It's just going to fight on, because that's just kind of the classic. So for me, it made sense. Now, in this game, you might want to bring it along with you, because you can absorb hits with it. So that's not too bad. So in that sense, if you sink it, and especially if they target it with tactical bombers, they sink that carrier. So it makes sense that these are like, well, shoot, our carrier is gone, we got to scoot, right? But then you have the issue of, well, I still got 3 movement points left. So I just thought I admit those rules that rule specifically is definitely not clear enough as it could be. So that's just my take on it. It's just not clear enough as it could be. So for me, I thought that applied to all units, attacking and defender, for all carriers involved. Just simply, right? Like, that's just the way I read it. Now, General Hand Grenade said, well, no, it's not quite that case. And yeah, if he says so, I will have to agree, especially if he's backed up by Ryan Carcass, another respected member of the community. You know, these guys, they've been at it for so long and been more in touch with the game than me. So I have to bow to their superior judgment in this case. And even though it makes more thematic sense that, again, you lose your carrier, so your munitions are, you know, sunk now, so you have to rebase yourself somewhere else. So for me, that makes more sense. But it doesn't appear to be that way in the rules, because those guys scoured the rules quite a bit. And me, myself, too, I looked in 9.4 and tried to find any reference to this. There's nothing. So that was my thinking, that it applied to all carriers. And I do have to extend my apology to General Hand Grenade because I was... You know how text could sometimes be... doesn't express really the feelings behind things. So I just want to apologize to the guy, because I really do think highly of him quite a bit. So I hope there's no ill will. So that's an optional rule that only affects apparently the attacking carriers. So I played that wrong in this case. So there's going to be one quick change, which we may have already seen. You may have seen in my video that all the subs ended their move here. So what I'll simply do is on the last round of combat, after they sink those ships, they'll say, okay, we're not going to fight anymore. And instead of submerging and suffering another round of attack from that, they're going to retreat to this position here. So that's what they're going to do. So I've already informed Panzer King about all that, and I hope it's all good. I think it's all good. I can't see why it wouldn't be. So great. Now, moving on. Screening forces. Now, you guys, this is not a new rule. Well, it is a new rule for version 3, but it's a great rule, in my opinion. It's pretty good stuff. So, yeah. I don't think I need to break it down too much. It makes sense to me. Basically, naval forces can divide into moving and fighting forces. That's not clear on what it intends to say, but it's to prevent blocking units from completely screwing over your movement, right? Like, I'm going to send the entire Japanese fleet to hit Hawaii. Well, hold on, there's a destroyer in the way, so we need to halt the fleet from doing that. There's really some gaming moves that you can play without the screening forces. So, screening forces are awesome, guys. I'd say that one should be played with. Surface raiding ships. Ships can engage in convoy raiding with a 0 modifier. That's one we've been playing with, although I'm not sure Panzer King has been utilizing that too much. Well, he hasn't had too many ships in places to hit anyways, but all his Japanese ships can. But I don't think his battleships can raid, but they may be able to. We'll have to look into 9.12 for that, but that is an option as well to keep aware of. Mine warfare, we're also playing with this one. Ships can use mines with a 0 modifier and are not subject to escort fire. So this is never clear enough, guys. Just so you know, this is not going to give you all the information you need. You need to find it in here. And as we found with 9.4, if it doesn't say this more clearly and you don't understand what it's trying to say, then perhaps it's just best not to make assumptions that it affects all carriers and that it just affects the attackers. Yeah, so that's it. What gets me with that is, like, what if my aircraft still have 3 spaces left and I don't know which carrier they came from. That kind of thing. Anyways, I shouldn't drift on to that. It still puzzles me, that's why. Mine warfare. Now, that's good. Convoy rating aircraft. Aircraft, not all aircraft, of course. So keep in mind, this one's only seaplanes, and I think all bombers can do it, but not your fighters. So they can do that. Reinforcement of captured bases. So I actually never played with this one, and I never actually liked playing with this one. I think the first time I played with, I thought the first time I played with General Hand Grenade and Panzer King that we played with this rule, and that's why we kind of included it here, because I thought it was a standard that most people play with, but apparently not. I'm not crazy about the rule anyways. Rail gauges, I think it used to be the standard, and now it's optional. Motorized upgrade. Yep, we're playing with that one. Chinese victory. Yep, we're doing that one. Suez reroute. You know what? I don't think we've actually played with this one either. I mean, I have played with it, but I don't think we've incorporated it in the game. I think Italy has still been raiding my IPs in the med, so we need to correct that. I need to chase after Panzer King for that. We're not going to change anything retroactively, but so is Italian subs are aware. Aircraft must return to carrier each turn. Now, we're not playing with this one. Maybe it's a good rule. Actually, Ozark Outpost said that he I think it was him that said he really plays with this one, or maybe it's another fellow. Might have been another fellow. But yeah, I mean, it's a good rule. I'm okay with it, but it's just hard to keep track of these things. Maybe it just makes the game a little simpler without it. Slovakian resistance. Yeah, Panzer King decided not to play with that one. He preferred not to. Alternate capital ship damage. Nope, I like the idea of having a bit more money and you just go and send your battleship to a base and get it repaired there. Even though it takes a long time to do that. It takes like 2 turns to get them to a place where they can repair their base. Now, forcing a strait. Straits can be forced, but ships subject to attack. I like that. Forcing the strait through the, through going through Gibraltar, right, from sea zone 80 to 79. You can score a few hits on an enemy that way. So I like that. It's thematic, and historically it could happen quite a bit. If I send ships into the Baltic, same story. So, advanced escort. So, battleships, coastal defense, and battle cruisers cannot escort. I like it because battleships represent 2 to 4 battleships, and so their escorting is not going to make that big of a difference. I think a destroyer would represent 30-odd destroyers, so this is going to make a big difference. Ships under construction requires players to specify a shipyard for construction of your ships. That we just thought that would be too much of a hassle in a YouTube war. Early war fighters, that'd be kind of cool, but we didn't play with that one. Strategic naval move. Limited number of ships get longer non-combat ranges. I think I accidentally X'd that one out. We have been playing with that one from the start because it's a good thing for the Allies to have, right? Strategic bombers of rivers and canals. We haven't, and it's also a good one. I don't mind it, but we haven't been playing with that one. And Italian and French players. That one doesn't really matter because it's just the 2 of us. So here's our option rules checklist. Now, some of them are wrong because strategic naval moves and and that kind of thing. So yeah, I think I walked through it quite nicely. So yeah, that's our option rules checklist. All right, gentlemen. So I've talked about victory points in this game, and I've talked about the optional rules we're playing with. And now I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Fortress Drinks channel. So the channel has grown from 20-something subscribers to almost 200, a 10-fold increase just about. Fantastic, guys. I'm chuffed to bits that there's 200 people who are interested in the ramblings that I have to say. And I know a lot of you guys are not here necessarily for me, but because there's people out there that do much better channels than me. But I appreciate you guys are attending and are out here listening to what I have to say. It's awesome. I always like to picture if I had a lecture hall and 200 people showed up, I would just be staggered by that, right? So I'm chuffed to bits. It's awesome. So I really appreciate you guys and what you bring to this as well. Your comments and even your views. The fact you guys are interested in it just makes me happy. So thanks a lot, guys, for showing up. Now, I don't have any prizes for the 200th subscriber. I don't have any event or anything going on, but I am starting something new. So far as the Allies, I haven't done too much kind of drastic moves just yet. Not too many large combat. I haven't rolled too many dice. It's been fairly quiet so far. I mean, there's been a few battles where, but nothing more than 5 units have engaged at any point, I think. I'm pretty sure that's the case. So it'll be interesting, guys. And what I'm going to start doing is something like this. So my 175th subscriber came out of the woodwork and said, "Hey, I'm your 175th." And I was like, "Man, that's awesome. Like, thanks for coming on board. You guys, that's amazing." So I made something special for this fellow. He was a man by the name Anthony Durpran. And yeah, so I have done something special for this fellow. The Battle of Durpran. I hope you like it, man. There's your battle. That was the battle of, the American fleet versus the Japanese carrier. And that's the first battle that we've really had that was any kind of substantial force. So henceforth, what I intend to do, so I try to look back and see if, this is kind of misprinted, so I intend on reprinting this and getting the B in there, but that says the Battle of Durpran. So my intent is to go back and look at some of my other subscribers, but the thing is not everybody is publicly kind of subscribed. Like, you're out there, but you're kind of private. So I only see, I don't know, maybe, I don't even know if I even see 100 of you, so it's hard to judge. So what I'm going to do is occasionally put up these after specific subscribers, specific commenters that put themselves out there. Now, there's people I really quite value out there who, like, there's Liam, I believe he has a Polish last name, Brzezinski or something like that. He's always commenting, and I really appreciate him quite a bit. Trig Marby, I didn't actually write these names down. I believe that's his name. There's another fellow, I've referred to him as my aide-de-camp, because he's always on it, and he's sharp, he watches what I do, and yeah, he really catches out a lot of my mistakes. So I really appreciate that as well. So there's a few commenters that I'm actually going to name battles after them. I'm probably going to take your last name or your first name, whatever seems a bit more appropriate. I don't even know that this is your real name, but that's what you're going to go by, Anthony. And I'm going to put you out for this one. And I'm going to do that quite a bit. So I tried to color match as best as I could. It took me 3 or 4 tries, so it could still be tweaked. But that's what's going on, people. So a little bit of recognition to my subscribers. And as I engage with more and more battles, I'm going to intend to do this a bit more. And these stickers will stay till the end of the game, and then I just peel them off afterwards. That's the plan, so I hope it all pans out. So I hope you guys like that. And yeah, if you're the 200th subscriber, just shout out, man. When you subscribe, say, "Hey, I'm your 200th." And we'll do something special for you too. We'll name a bigger battle after you or something like that, or an operational move or something. In some way, man, I love you guys out there. I love your comments. I love your feedback on things, and I'm going to do my best to honor you guys in some way as well. So that's it, people. Thank you all for watching. Cheers.